Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final conference of the Boost4BSO project. My name is Mario Vukelic, and on behalf of the hosting organization, STEPRI Science and Technology Park of the University of Rijeka, and on behalf of the Boost4BSO project consortium, I wish to greet our dear guests that join us here in person in Opatija in Croatia, just like I wish to greet our kind audience online. The common goal that brought us all here today is boosting digital transformation among European entrepreneurs. Today, you will meet the Boost4BSO project that we were implementing for the last 2 years. You will learn more about developing innovation capacities in Central Europe. You will hear about transition pathways for the digital, green, and resilient transition. You will witness a panel discussion on the role of business support organizations in the digitalization of Central European SMEs. You will hear about advanced manufacturing as booster of the EU transition pathways. You will observe a panel discussion about the importance of digital innovation hubs for the digitalization of Central European SMEs. You will see a digitalization initiative in the maritime sector through an example of a smart and digital port. You will learn about the Boost4BSO methodology and other project results supporting digital transformation. And before we close the event, we will proudly award a business support organization that successfully adopted and implemented the digitalization support methodology developed in scope of our project. So let's waste no time. I will now invite a lady that kept our consortium in line for the last 2 challenging years, Ms. Eva Breuer, our main project manager from the lead partner organization, Business Upper Austria.
Thank you, Mario, and big thanks to STEPRI for the organization and for hosting this final conference. And of course, also thank you to all of you for being here today and listening to this quite interesting presentations. And also a warm welcome to all participants who join us online. There are a lot of negative effects of COVID, but this is definitely one positive effect, that a lot of people can join us online, and especially it opens up the opportunity to have 2 high-ranked experts from the European Union, from the DG GROW and the European Cluster Alliance with us today. And I would like to start with briefly introducing the project. Okay, so the main objective of the project was to enable both business support organizations, so-called BSOs, to upgrade, to improve, to optimize their support measures for the local SMEs. And for that purpose, we have joined forces, 8 partners from 6 countries, and starting with Austria, which is not the polite version, but from the Czech Republic, from Germany, 2 regions from Italy, and Poland, and of course Croatia here with the hosting partner STEPRI. So here are some impressions of the so-called Wave 2. So we created the project prior to COVID, and we introduced this capacity building among the BSOs in 2 waves. The first wave was internally, and the second one was together with associated and external BSOs. And in total, there were almost 40 BSOs from not only the partner countries, but also beyond. So we had also guests from Slovenia. And what we are now almost going to finish is now to roll out the developed methodology for supporting SME with selected companies in our region. So we're starting with assessing the needs, the current status of these companies, and trying to elaborate together with them solutions to cope with their challenges. And finally, to write an action plan for the implementation of the digital transformation in their companies. And as already announced by Mario, we will award a business support organization who has also used the tools that we have developed and consulted an SME in their region. So regarding the project partners in detail, as already mentioned, from 6 countries. So starting in the north with the Silesian Automotive and Advanced Manufacturing Cluster from Katowice, then going to AVO, the Association of Research Organizations in Prague. And then in Upper Austria, the University of Applied Sciences and Business Upper Austria with the Mechatronics Cluster. And also from Bavaria, the Mechatronics Cluster. And we 2 clusters have jointly implemented one of the base projects named InnoPeer AVM. And from Italy, we have MESAP, the Mechatronics Cluster located in Turin, who has brought into the project their know-how from the previous project IoT for Industry. And Friuli Innovazione, who was the lead partner of the other base project, Things Plus, and last but not least, Stepri here from Rijeka. So, thank you so far, and I will hand over to Mario to continue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Breuer. I will now invite a speaker that will join us online, Ms. Jana Valkova from the Joint Secretariat of the Interreg Central Europe Programme, in scope of which our project was co-financed. Ms. Valkova, thank you for joining us. I hope you can hear us well. Excellent.
Yes, very well, thank you.
Excellent. I kindly ask you to address the audience.
Yes, thank you. So good morning to all of you now convening today at the final conference of the project Boost4BSO, which is funded from Interreg Central Europe. I will now share my screen, so I hope you will be able to see the presentation. Yes, so thank you very much for having me at this final conference. I represent a transnational cooperation funding program. We are covering 9 countries and 81 regions in Central Europe, and there are funding projects in 4 program priorities that I will mention in a second, with the budget for the program period 2021-27 of 224 million euros. Our program focuses not only in this new program period, but also in the previous ones, has been focusing on building bridges and reinforcing links. And the impact evaluation of our program, which analyzed calls 1 and 2 out of 4 in the last program period, has shown quite substantial outreach to SMEs. So we had outreach to 16,000 SMEs and 2,500 business support organizations, 3,000 universities and research institutes, and last but not least, around 2 million citizens in Central European regions. So for us, really, cooperation is important, cooperation is central, and Boost4BSO is one of the projects that also shows very well how this can work in the field of support to small and medium enterprises in the field of digitalization. We as a program are supporting projects that contribute to smarter Central Europe, greener, better connected, and also a better governed Central Europe. And in priority 1, which might be the most interesting for you, we have 2 specific objectives that focus on strengthening innovation capacities, but also strengthening skills for smart specialization. In the last program period, which also supported financially Boost4BSO project, we were supporting 26 projects focus on Industry 4.0, advanced manufacturing, also digitalization, mechatronics, partly robotics, agro-bioeconomy, also urban innovation projects in silver economy, and also some of the projects.
Ms. Valkova, excuse me, sorry for interrupting you, but we are only seeing your first slide. It's not showing us your presentation in full mode. So maybe you can just click on the rest of the slides.
Okay, I will try to.
Yeah, sorry about this.
I apologize. I didn't know this. Maybe you should have
It's not a problem. Sorry for interrupting.
So, try to share the screen again. Do you see?
Yeah, excellent. Now we see it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So I will maybe go back a little bit. So these were topics which we were supporting in the last programming period, and many of them will have continuity also in this current program period. And also what we want to do overall will have the continuity. So we will want to still improve access to research and innovation, still help to technology transfer and help developing, supporting ecosystem for SMEs. Also, our aim is still to contribute to creation of linkages and supporting collaboration of the innovation stakeholders in regional ecosystems, and overall to support transition towards more digitalized and also greener economy. So many of the topics that we are supporting in this new programming period have already some past, and such as projects in Industry 4.0, robotization, mechatronics, also projects that really develop support to at BSO level to SMEs. So this is what our program is trying to do as contribution for the ecosystems in Central European regions. Also, like I mentioned in the last program, in the specific objective, we supported 26 projects. In the current program, we have just closed the first call, and in total we received 280 applications, out of which 90 were in priority 1 in innovation, and 57 of them were in specific objective 1.1, which also shows us, and it's a feedback from the Central European regions, that there is still a clear need to support development of the ecosystem for SMEs and for smart specialization, and so on and so forth. Today we are meeting at the final conference of Boost4BSO project, which was funded in the previous programming period, in the last call, which was an experimental call, where our program has joined forces with DGRTD and with Horizon 2020. And the aim of that call was to support projects that build on the results of Interreg Central Europe funded projects, but also projects funded from Horizon and other funding schemes. And Boost4BSO is a very nice example of how the forces from different projects can be joined, and how the results and outputs of different projects can be further used and increase outreach to the specific target groups. It has built on 2 Interreg Central Europe funding projects and 1 project funded from Horizon 2020. And while I believe that it's definitely an added value to the project and to the regions, there might have been also some obstacles. So I really would like to thank for the efforts to all the project partners of this project. And to the audience, I wish you a very nice, inspiring event. And myself, I'm very keen and very much looking forward to hearing about the achievements of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Valkova. I certainly hope we will meet again in future Interreg Central Europe projects. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant rest of the day. Now we are moving to our first keynote speaker that will also join us online, Ms. Ulla Engelmann from the DG GROW, Directorate-General for Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs. Ms. Engelmann, good day, madam, and thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Good morning and thank you very much, and sorry that I'm here online with you, but in view of the timing, it was preferential to do it online so that I could share with you some information about what we are having a high focus on, namely the transition pathways which are needed for transforming our economies. So I'm just wondering on practicalities, will you be able to share the slides for me, or should I do it?
We can share the slides for you.
That would be probably easier.
Yeah, just one moment, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So we are basing ourselves, when we look at the transition, on the update of the industrial strategy, which happened in May 2021, so last year, where we put in the lessons learned from the COVID crisis. But now, as since several days, our life has been really changed a lot due to the war in Ukraine. This also has, of course, a huge impact on, in this case, also on our supply chains. And this will also have an impact on the need that we need to transform, and even faster, meaning digital and green. So with this in mind, so strengthening the single market resilience is one of the areas which is where SMEs and also business support organizations will have to put a particular focus in. The same goes then for analyzing and addressing strategic dependencies, because this is also what we see now with the supply chain disruptions, that due to the sanctions which we have applied against Russia and Belarus, that some of the raw materials, it will have an effect on energy deliverables. So there we really need to analyze and see also how can we change our supply chain, what can we do, finding new partners, seeing what can we do for our strategic autonomy. So analyzing strategic dependency is key. And for this, I have put at the end of the slide a publication which what happened this February, 23rd of February, where we published the annual single market report. And in this annual single market report, we are describing the situation of the 14 industrial ecosystems, which we have used as an economic lens to look at how our economy is developing. And then, of course, another key element in the industrial strategy is how to accelerate the twin, green and digital transition. If we go to the next slide, please. So we were imagining how would the world look like, and this was during discussions we had at the EU Industry Days, which happened at the beginning of February, where we said, if we have now and work on transition pathways, where in 2030 do we want to go? So there is then to look that we need new skills, that we will have different kind of factories, that we need to have like more battery factories, the autonomy, the fostering of innovation, to have renewable energies, looking in how to make our transport sustainable, wind energy, and what do we need to get there? And in the next slide, what do we need to get there? We were putting in this transition pathways. So these transition pathways are an actionable plan for the transition of the industrial ecosystems. And this looks into that the different ecosystems, so each ecosystem has its own way of how it needs to transition. We can provide, let's say, a blueprint, and that we are doing together with the industrial forum, which we are having, where we provide building blocks, like setting of visions, goals and milestones for greening and digitalization, but also how to foster resilience, looking at bottlenecks, gaps, enablers, how to monitor, but making also business cases for investments, taking into account competitiveness, governance, research and innovation, technology, infrastructure, skills, but also looking at the social impact of the transition, as well as the international dimension, and how SMEs can be catered for in this transition. So all of this is really a co-creation process in discussion with the stakeholders itself. And to help this, we have this kind of blueprint for transition pathways, but the actual transition pathways will need to be elaborated within each of the ecosystems. And for the ecosystems, we have several priority ecosystems who have already started, or in one case already finished work. So if we go to the next slide, there we see the state of play of the different transition pathways. I will not go into detail, but just highlight to you which are the transition pathways we are working at. So tourism was the first one, also because this was the industrial ecosystem which was the hardest hit by the COVID crisis. And therefore, this was the first one to have a transition pathway. We are having in the making on energy intensive industries. And within energy intensive industries, we have the chemical industry as a sub transition pathway. Mobility, construction, proximity, and social economy and textiles are the ones where work is ongoing, and all of this is coming through in 22. Next slide, please. So, as I said, we have as a progress that we are having to the blueprint, which is worked by our industrial forum, where we put all this work on a wiki of the industrial forum. So in case you are interested to follow or even to contribute, you can proactively also give input to this wiki. Then we have, if you want to learn more about the transition pathway, you could look at the first one, which has been finished, the tourism transition pathway. But then I will also explain later on, we said it's finished, but it's finished the pathway description itself, but now the work on the implementation starts. And I have mentioned that work is ongoing and public consultations are either still open or have just closed on these other ecosystems. Next slide, please. So, as I said, we had this co-creation for the tourism transition pathway, where we really, in stakeholder consultation, we looked at the staff working document, which we had proposed, which are new policy initiatives which are needed, and all of this fed in to the elaboration of this transition pathway, which was then with 27 action topics and 60 concrete actions. And in the next slide, now the important part is the co-implementation of this tourism transition pathway. And therefore, our colleagues are working on a collaboration platform where there are pledges, task force, and also how to connect to resources, what are funding opportunities in the tourism area, really bringing all the information together that it is easier than also for companies and particularly for SMEs to find their way around. But we of course know that on this platform it is highly unlikely that SMEs goes directly, they need business support organizations to go onto this platform, to help them, to guide them to digest this information. Therefore, I think you are well placed to look more into this different opportunities which are on this platform for the tourism transition pathways. And as soon as we finish others, we will add other transition pathways. Next slide, please. And this was the transition pathways were something which were discussed intensively at our EU industry days, which were running over 4 days, as I said, beginning of February. And we were looking at strategic dependencies and supply shortages, but also we had specific sessions to SMEs. We were also in some of the sessions describing how support to SMEs is working. So also you might check this out in case you want some further information on supporting SMEs. And another important area is re and upskilling is also an important driver for the twin transition. And also there is a link where the sessions and the full programs are still available and can be watched. And maybe there are some of the sessions which are interesting to watch it. Next slide, please. And so now we are also really looking at the follow-up and how to reflect and to work, and particularly on the co-creation of the transition, how to involve all the players in the transition, how to learn about issues for the transition. Like we know, for example, permitting is a real issue in infrastructures because it often takes so long. That's why it is important to work with the member states, but as well as with the regions. And then, of course, also it is important to look at the impact of the transition on workers and on job relocation. And that's why it is also very important to have a strong dialogue with the unions, but also with civil society. So thank you very much for your attention.
Ms. Engelmann, thank you, Madam, for this insightful presentation. Thank you again for joining us today. I wish you enjoy the rest of the program and have a pleasant rest of the day. Thank you. Now we are moving to our first panel discussion, focused on the role of the business support organizations in digitalization of Central European SMEs. I kindly invite the representatives of our partner organizations to take the stage. Mr. Boris Golob from STEPRI Science and Technology Park of the University of Rijeka, who will also be the panel moderator. Ms. Eva Breuer from Business Upper Austria, Mr. Saverio Deredita from Friuli Innovazione, and Mr. Lukáš Gorecký from Silesia Automotive and Advanced Manufacturing Cluster of the Katowice Special Economic Zone. Please take your seats. And you can start with the panel discussion.
Not this one? No. Okay. Then I'll take the next one.
Hello, everyone. So thank you for everyone joining us here and online. So I greet my friends, colleagues, partners in this project, or if you want, in a crime that we try to develop during past 2 years or so. So without further ado, so I would like to discuss with them and maybe share some insights in our experience of the role of the BSOs and how BSOs, which challenges were faced from the BSO perspective when working with the SMEs, and how we tried to, let's say, address them and have some kind of dilemmas or the whole project is about how business support organizations are supporting SMEs becoming more digital. So yes, we had Industry 4.0 because that was at that point something that came out of the previous project, but it turned out that it actually can really well fit under umbrella of digital, which is now the word of the day. So first question for Eva is, why is digital transformation of SMEs challenging for BSOs? So what was our problems with it and what we were trying to face?
So to be honest, it's always something like opening Pandora's box. When you visit a company, you never know what their problem is, if it's just a quite small one, if they're already quite digital, or if they completely newcomers, so you never know what you get. And this, I think, is one of the major challenge. And maybe one additional point to what Boris said. In this project, we have somehow excluded all strategic topics. But to continue with our fourth speaker, Ms. Engelmann, of course, we are downstreaming the strategies of our region on either economic strategies or innovation strategies, but also national digitalization strategies and also European strategies. We are downstreaming these strategies to our local SMEs. And the challenge is also, we all have been at a different level. Some of the project partners are quite experienced regarding technologies, others are quite experienced regarding digital business models, and so it was really important to have this experience exchange at a peer level, so to increase the knowledge of all of us and to have better tools, better opportunities to support the local SMEs.
Yeah, thank you. So coming to that, one question for Saverio. So we had within the project, in order to test some of what we hoped that it might work. So we had an idea that as a BSO, we have a knowledge and logic how to support the SMEs. But when coming with the SMEs during the pilot, so which were the needs from the BSO perspective that you saw? Is it more like challenges regarding technology, business, running it?
Based on our feeling and our observation of the pilot action, we noticed that normally companies are not seeking for a business model change at first step, but rather than they are seeking for a more technological oriented change. I mean, in particular, a common point for the whole pilot action are the real digital transformation. I mean, the transformation of the process in a digital environment. So the companies are looking for monitoring execution systems, like something like this, or trying to put machine-to-machine dialogue, digital twins, all the environment of typical IT. They are looking for this kind of change, basically. Partially, we see that some one of them, but only if pushed by the BSOs, and in this sense, the role of BSOs is really important, they are rethinking their business model. But first, they need to transform their business into a digital profile, let's say, becoming really digital, sometimes starting from basics. From the simple monitoring system of the production, the production process. But then, with the help of BSOs, they realize that they also need to change their business model. There is a point here, because it also regards the role of business support organization in this sense. We can be just a facilitator, I mean, being a medium between the company and the technological answer, let's say, and facilitate the dialogue between the world of research, for example, technology provider and the companies, or trying to tackle the resistance to the change that sometimes companies has. Changing is also always shocking for everyone. Not everyone, because some visionary are there, but normally it's something that only the BSOs can do, really, triggering the change. Telling to the entrepreneurs, okay, you invested in ITs, but you should become something different in the future if you rethink your business model. And that's an important point also for the improvement of our services, in my opinion.
Yeah, so it was from the company's perspective, I share that it was more like it was easier to buy shiny new things. But the problem is that if those shiny new things were not plugged into their business, or they didn't provide, then it was just a shiny but without any kind of specific result. And so Lukasz is representing a really competitive, so comes from the really competitive industry. So the automotive industry is probably one of the most competitive industries, and there is not a lot of space for experimentation, and they really need to deliver results immediately. So we are more like a generalist, or some of us, and you need to you have a really kind of tough audience. So from the automotive industry, what is what BSO support should look like, as it is they don't have a long time spent for a result.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so first I need to say who we are, because we are a little bit different than other partners in the project. We are the cluster, automotive cluster. So we are working with very special clients, special companies, because automotive industry, if we talk about the optimization process, about automatization, they are in a completely different league, yes. In Poland, if we compare the automotive to the other industries, they are completely different. They are much, much further. So, but they, of course, are good optimized, but because of the fact that in automotive, the competition is very high, and the expectation of the clients are also very high and higher every day. So the companies are, let's say, they are in the continuous improvement process all the time for years. So they're implementing the lean manufacturing, Kaizen, and so on. And now, the new Industry 4 revolution gives them the next tools that they may go next step. So they are really open for this kind of innovation. And we are lucky because we are working with the companies who are aware of this situation and are really open for our supporting. So we working with them, we try to just show them the possibilities. They are really happy to sit with the suppliers on the table and discuss about the possible solution. So, so for sure, that's why, for example, in our cluster in 2016, we invited to the cluster the next groups of the entrepreneurs, the suppliers and integrators of new technology. And we built the second pillar of our cluster. And today we are Silesia Automotive and Advanced Manufacturing. We just wanted to ease this transfer of technology into the automotive industry. But after that, we noticed that we have quite huge potential, because we built, today we have 40 suppliers and integrators of new technology. And we think maybe we will be able to support also the other industries. So that's why we joined to the Boost, to learn from our colleagues who are very well in it, and just wanted to copy the best practices of this, because the collaboration with small and medium companies from other sectors show us that it surprised us that it's completely different clients for us. So we just need to learn this supporting, and I believe that's what we create here in this project. Give us this possibility to build these competences. I just want to say only that in 2020 we decided to establish a dedicated initiative, the Digital Innovation Hub. Last year we've jumped into the shortlist on the national level, in the Poland level of the Digital Innovation Hub, and 2 weeks ago we took a part in the call for proposal for Europe for EDIH. So I think that it was the the good practice from this project that give us these new competences.
Yeah, we will come to the digital innovation hubs and especially European digital innovation hubs in the next panel, so I won't go much deeper in that. But so coming back to, so we had idea how it might work. We actually faced the SMEs. We learned stuff about, from the, let's say, overall perspective, from the consortium perspective, or all the, let's say, pilots that we exchange. Eva, what do you think, which are the most common challenges that SMEs are facing and that we try to tackle as someone who tried to support them?
So, I think we have to differentiate. As already Lucas said, there are companies in very strictly regulated sectors like the automotive, and those SME are quite digitalized already. But on the other hand, there are SMEs who have the feeling, I really need to do something. But they have no strategy, they are full with their daily work, have no time for any strategic development. And so it is a real challenge to, on the one hand, to create ideas, which steps they could take to improve their business, to become more digital, because they simply do not know where to start. And some companies see the technologies, as Boris mentioned, the shining parts, and they think, okay, if we purchase some shining part, then we are digital. But that's not the fact. And they fully lack the whole picture. So it's not only technology, and in the past few months, or maybe 1 or 2 years, there has been also a big change in the mindset of most of the companies. It's not only technologies, we have to go one step further. If you purchase a collaborative robot and nobody of your workers wants to collaborate, then it's a shiny part that is somewhere in the corner. But if you give the people space to try it out, to get confident working with that, then they will collaborate in the production line. So it's a lot of challenges that SME face, and in that kind of support, it is really important, on the one hand, to widen the focus of that SME, that it's not only technology, but a lot of other things to do, and also exploiting what the technologies can bring for the business. And especially the smaller companies, they see the big picture and they see, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. But I have no time, I can't afford it. And there it is also our purpose as business support organizations to elaborate with them an action plan, which are the first steps to start. So starting with quite small steps that are really beneficial and that not completely change everything in the first step, but also to give the people a chance to cope with these new challenges and to cope with these new technologies and to adapt their mindset to a more digital one.
Yeah, thanks. So coming to that, so you said they have a lack of strategy, and so at some points it was more like we are trying to pick on their the brain of the company, or trying to infuse some of the ideas, and so very that goal setting. So was that actually even possible? And sometimes maybe it's interesting to introduce something that we also had a problem, is changing the culture. So they have a analog mindset with the analog culture. So that was also a huge barrier, because that shiny, beautiful thing won't work if you are thinking in analog way where there is no distribution of. So which are the experience of that kind of trying to impose them, that to shift their strategy or kind of to bring some additional goals into the process?
Imposing is never a good option, also because they are feeling attacked. You are imposing a business model. You have to change. You should change. Probably this is the question, in my opinion, because we are struggling years and years on this. Because sometimes they as companies, looking at BSOs as the provider of answers or contacts. Please get me in touch with some technology provider, and that's it, and it's finished. Probably because I have a grant, I need to invest money in something. So, but it's quite limited. The thing that you can do is, for sure, improving your offering in terms of services to be offered to companies. Technological consultancy is okay, but besides, you should always have to be ready with training software, for example, or some kind of inspiring workshop, webinars in this case, in these last years. But you should accompany the technological support to the, let's say, more strategic vision to the companies. It's never easy. Sometimes it's struggling because you need to push, not imposing, but pushing, provoking the change, triggering the change, but it happens. It happens that the lights turn up, and you realize that also the small businesses, as Eva said, then when they have the picture, the whole picture, they realize that they need to go for a change and to change themselves and the business model. Of course, you cannot completely imposing or suggesting a change of their market or their products. But sometimes a small step in this direction is a good result for us as a BSOs, in my opinion. It's a matter of cultural change, for sure. Probably we should insist and invest in ourselves, in our organization, in this sense, offering something more attracting, and being attractive also for the companies themselves. We have the experience, we have a common experience in civilization, Boris, and in Things Plus, for example, this was a success story. Personally, I didn't expect in 3 years ago to have so many companies interested in a civilization process. That's something not really clear to most of the companies, now clear, maybe because of Things Plus. But we see how they are really interested in changing when you explain and you trying to adapt also the methodology to the needs and to the times of the companies. Times is very, very important. In Boost4BSO, we had a limited times. Probably this is a problem because in 4-5 months, making this transformation is quite challenging. But if you accept to have more time, 1 year, for example, is maybe ideal timing for really seeing some outputs.
So we kind of shifted this discussion, and I don't want to impose it, but from the relatively strict, okay, we are talking about digital technologies and which are technology thing, into more soft skills. And it turned out to be that challenge was actually identified right at the beginning of the project. So Lukasz, you were a partner that created 2 documents. One of those documents, the first one, deliverables, which kind of try to identify the competences and challenges that BSOs should have in order to support the needs of, so summing up, and these documents really kind of pushed this project in the very pragmatic direction. So to summing up now, which are the most important competencies, or what would you now cherry pick from that?
Okay. Because of our experience with collaboration automotive, in my opinion, the biggest competences that we should increase is to how to convince these companies for these services that we want to provide them. because we've noticed that the huge group of the companies are not really interested to discuss with us about it because they have a lot of excuses. Something is, I don't know, too expensive, that's rather for big, not for us, it's not our priority, we have no money or something like this. But of course there is a group of the companies, small and medium, who are interested, and they expected that the business support organization will be reliable, trustworthy and neutral. So we'll be able to show the wide spectrum of the possibilities. We'll be able to help to choose which one direction is good. We'll be able to prepare the roadmap where show step by step what the company is doing. We'll be show that it is financially feasible to do it, and in the end will be profitable for the company. And in the end that is possible to even find the external resources, financial resources to finance this investment. And I remember that in the beginning of the project, we did this report, and the result shows that not every business support organization provide this kind of services, and the difference of the services is very wide. But of course, I understand that this aware business support organization are here in this conference and in the project, because we are aware, we know that we have to improve our competences. I remember that in this report you've mentioned was a few clues for the business support organization, and one of this was build a partnership with the suppliers, because the digital transformation is so wide that we are not able to have the people with competences on the board. It's impossible. The experts are in the business support, in the suppliers of the new technology. So you need to build the relations with them and try to use their competences. For example, doing the workshop, showing the small, medium companies the real cases adjusted to their small, medium companies. Try to together with the suppliers, building the demonstrators, because maybe you will be easier to convince them if you show how it works. And for sure you need to have the knowledge about the accessible funds, external funds, because this is something what convince the small and medium companies. But the problem is that in the one of the report, it also was the information comes from the market that small and medium companies are interested now, this process, because that's for free for them now, because we have a lot of funds. But what will be if the funds will over, or we will try to collaborate with them in commercial ways? If they will be really interested, I don't know.
Yes, so we are kind of partly running out of time, so we have 5 minutes left, but just for the last round. So this is the capitalization project, and it's supposed to kind of use stuff that is already produced and do not create too much questions. I, as a partner within the project, I feel that this opened a lot of questions for a new project, which is interesting and might be also really fruitful. So from your perspective, which are our blind spots or the SMEs blind spots that we might target in the future actions, projects or?
Okay, so definitely one blind spot that has raised in the past months is the topic of circular economy and green technology. And I think for that, the digital technologies are an enabler. So by introducing some processes or machines or whatsoever that are more energy efficient, you're automatically going to more green production. And this is also a bit the change in our mindset as BSOs, that we also have to accommodate with all the green topics. They are definitely hyped now at the European level, at any level in real. And so also we as BSOs have to adapt it to that. And I think it's also important for SME to adopt with that new topic, but not to completely, we as BSOs should not fully push them into anything. So we have the big challenge to find the best possible solution for that specific SME. It's the problem that there is not one solution that fits all. And as already mentioned, I think it's not only thinking a bit more digital, but also thinking a bit more green is big topic of cultural change. You know, no person wants to be changed. And for example, we have SMEs with quite old employees together with young ones. So the young ones, they have grown up with all the digital media, and the old ones, you have to be really careful and to very thoroughly involve them in the transformation process, not to lose them, because they have a lot of experience and you don't want to lose them. And this is one big challenge that has come up in the past months. And this is also opportunity for further projects to work on the mindset, to work on the culture, but also to support the SMEs in going to more green technologies.
Yes, so Saverio, how do you plan to integrate this soft skills set, which is soft, with tech skills or knowledge about technologies which are more...
It's something that also Lucas advised before, the point of integrating in the competencies. Sometimes I felt myself in the wrong place because I'm a completely different background, humanistic, let's say. So becoming an engineer in 2 months is not easy. Two options, in my opinion. One is investing, of course, in human resources. I mean, everybody in BSO should have at least a minimum of IT literacy or technical alphabetization to understand companies' needs first, but as well integrating some competencies from outside, so that you can set up a team of different skills all together in the same organization. It's really important. First, go towards enabling of competencies, so economic background with also some technical knowledge, but also integrating with other people with specialization, so that you can offer a one-stop shop for companies where they can find everything there without turning around, looking for the provider and losing times at the end.
And Lucas, to sum up, maybe a few key takeaways from this project that you will definitely apply or kind of suggest others to apply because they were useful.
Okay, so this project brings us a lot of new competences as a cluster to supporting the small and medium companies. Some of them, we started to use it. For example, the toolbox we together create, we take this inspiration to create our new services under the Digital Innovation Hub. So I think this was very, very successful project with very, very good new for us competences. Just only words to this what Saverio said, because you're right that the competences we need to have also on the board. It's important that we also increase our team, because we have to make a good impression with the first contact with small and medium companies to build the relations. I have a chance to support them as well. Of course, that's important. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I think it's now time for a coffee break, so we'll be back in 10 minutes, I think so. 15. Yeah. Mario.
Thank you very much. Amazing conversation. Excellent. I wish to thank our panelists for a very fruitful conversation. Now, before we continue, we are going to have a short break, during which you will be able to meet our organizations participating in the project and the regions participating in the projects. So see you around in 15 minutes. Thank you.
couldn't find a place to make it our own. Bring all your dogs and clothes and all things familiar. Bring all your kids and seeds and help them to grow. To go on and find a place where heaven is near us. Way to go. Sign your subscription to feel as nothing can stop us. Give all your hands to friends who come here alone. To go on and find a place, 'cause beauty within us knows where to go. Hold on to what you believe is what is your dearest. Save all your neighbors and kins for coming along. To go on and find a place where no one can see us. Where to go? A way to go.
Zamislite Europsko sveučilište budućnosti. Zamislite sveučilište koje je uključivo i društveno odgovorno jer poštuje različitosti i promiče jednake mogućnosti za sve. Zamislite sveučilište koje je uključeno u zajednicu i čiji su ljudi angažirani na poboljšanju kvalitete života i rada. Sveučilište koje kultivira kritično i odgovorno građanstvo, transparentnost i participaciju. Zamislite sveučilište u kojem je obrazovanje otvoreno jer svaki student može razvijati svoj individualni put učenja i personalizirani internacionalni studij. Zamislite sveučilište u kojem su studenti partneri i sukreatori svih procesa, bez obzira na to koje su dobi i u kojim programima stječu svoja znanja. Sveučilište koje se digitalno transformira i umrežuje i u kojem studenti putuju kroz stvarne i virtualne kampuse. Zamislite sveučilište koje vjeruje u otvorenu znanost, koja sve znanstvene rezultate vidi kao javno dobro dostupno svima. Zamislite sveučilište kojim su izazovi zajednice izazovi za naše znanje, i gdje najbolji istraživači surađuju i traže rješenja za stvarne probleme građana. Sveučilište koje zna da nema pravog istraživanja i razvoja bez kruženja talenata i energije mladih znanstvenika, kao ni smislene humanističke budućnosti bez kulture i umjetnosti. Zamislite sveučilište koje kontinuirano proširuje svoje obzore kroz međunarodnu suradnju i povezivanje, koje je dio najbolje europske sveučilišne mreže i ima svoje mjesto u prestižnim sustavima rangiranja sveučilišta. Zamislite sveučilište na kojem su angažman institucija i integracija zamijenili elitizam. Sveučilište koje je ekološki osviješteno i posvećeno energetskoj tranziciji i održivom razvoju. Sveučilište koje bolji svijet vidi u iskorjenjivanju svih nejednakosti koje nepravedno isključuju. Zamislite sveučilište koje iskoračuje izvan svojih zidova, izvan disciplina, izvan institucija i koje prelazi postavljene granice. To je sveučilište u Rijeci.
Start. Invent. Make. Implement. Making ideas work. Here, at the heart of Europe, success stories begin that expand all over the world, written by people to change the world in small ways and in big ways. Welcome to Upper Austria.
Hello and welcome to the campus of the University of Applied Sciences in Steyr. All our study programs focus on business and management. My name is Yvette and I will take you on a tour on our campus and will show you the most beautiful and important places for your studies at our university. Let's get started.
We'll start right at the entrance of FH3. The new third campus building of the FH in Steyr was recently opened, which means that there is now even more space and many more lecture halls, seminar rooms, laboratories and working spaces. Come and see for yourself. This is the assembly hall of the FH3. Here on the picture wall you see some of the highlights of the last years. This is one of the latest logistics projects. Also, you can see here a graffiti which was designed by a Steyr artist. Our program assistants are the first point of contact for all questions regarding your studies. And now, let us have a look at one of our new seminar rooms. As an essential part of our studies, we often collaborate with the industry, working with the newest technologies. With the two smart boards, students have the opportunity to work interactively on a wide variety of solutions. The meeting rooms and open workspaces offer a perfect environment for group work. The rooms can be booked online by students at any time and are ideal for working together on projects or homeworks. However, if you prefer to study alone, our library is the perfect place to study. In our library, there are lots of quiet workplaces, with and without PCs, which can be used for research work, for projects or final papers. You will also find around 30,000 books arranged accordingly to the topics of the offered study programs here in Steyr. By the way, this is also where I have the best view when working on campus. This area offers probably the most beautiful panoramic view, or you can make use of our rooftop terrace. By crossing this bridge, it takes you less than 5 minutes to get to the historical center of Steyr. There you find all types of restaurants, bars or cafes. The train station is also within 5 to 10 minutes walking distance. At the FH2 building, there are mainly lecture halls and seminar rooms. The largest lecture hall on our campus is also located in this building. Often, congresses and management talks take place here. At our chill-out area, students can enjoy the sun during their lunch break, eat or study next to the river. Arrived at the FH1 building, you will find our info point. Here you can get your student card and answers if you have questions about your studies. If you'd like to spend a semester abroad, you can choose between one of our 120 partner universities worldwide. Just stop by at the international office and discover more about your international opportunities. The staff will support you with administrative procedures and also will be happy to advise you about scholarships abroad. The last stop on our campus tour is the cafeteria. Here you can get warm meals, snacks, and your coffee to go. That's it. I hope I could give you an insight into our campus. If you want to learn more about our university, please visit us online or subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks a lot for watching and hopefully see you soon.
Mikrofon samo ne radi. He's here, so yeah. Battery is full here. Maybe he was holding it too low or something. Nema mikrofona.
Hello, can you hear me?
Dear all, welcome back to the final conference of the Boost4BSO project. I will now invite our second keynote speaker, Mr. Antonio Novo Guerrero for the European Clusters Alliance. Mr. Novo Guerrero, good day, sir. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to share your presentation and your thoughts with us. The online stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I'm not sure if you are hearing me. Can somebody tell me if you are?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, hello, good morning. I'm really glad to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation to the organization. First of all, I want to refer to the current extremely sad situation with Ukraine. We are really involved in supporting Ukraine in the current situation. And when I mean we, I am extending the name to all the European clusters, meaning the European Cluster Alliance, and also those that are collaborating in the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. You know, that we are involved from both. Okay, I am the president of the European Cluster Alliance, but also a member of the consortium that is running the European Cluster Cooperation Platform, depending of the European Commission. And I can tell you that we are working hard on this support. We are working to detect, define, and support the needs that are coming, the very big, very urgent needs that are coming from Ukraine. And we are creating a space on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform to support, to enhance the dialogue between all the actors involved in order to support that country. So we will launch a fora, I hope today, in the next hours, where you are invited to enter, register, and share your capacities, share your the goods, the resources that you and your members could be willing to contribute with on this action, humanitarian aid, I will say. That will be published, as I say, in the Cluster Collaboration Platform. You have the link in the screen. Don't hesitate to go to it. Wait for some hours for the creation of the fora, enter on it, and participate. Okay, we, for your information, the Ukrainian clusters has created a common platform at national level. They are being very active in supporting the continuity of the activities of the industrial ecosystem in Ukraine. That is key, not only for the economy, but now for the society. We are speaking of the capacity to create food, to support the distribution of water, of humanitarian aid, and also things like work or other goods that the society needs. Okay, we are facilitating the creation of a network of hubs, logistic hubs across Europe, in order to facilitate, to really make possible the quick flow of containers across our continent, okay, to Ukraine. And if you think that you could contribute on the building of that network or facilitating resources to it, please go to the Cluster Collaboration Platform or contact me on my email. It's a big team, okay, but you could use me as the central contact point. Sorry for taking some minutes of this speech to this topic, but I think it's really critical at this moment. Okay. About advanced manufacturing and transition pathways, I haven't had the opportunity to hear the previous speaker. I'm sure that Ulla has introduced you to the transition pathways. We have built a blueprint for them where we are requesting to those services and the different entities defining the transition pathways to follow a template, okay, in their design. The template is based on 7 building blocks, meaning, I would say, vertical aspects that must be covered by every one of the transition pathways, 14, as you should know. And you have them in the screen. The fourth one is about research and innovation techniques and technological solutions, okay? And you have at the bottom of the screen the definition, okay, of that building block, okay? So we are looking at how research and innovation and the promotion of sustainable and advanced techniques and key enabled technologies can help the transition and move to greater resilience. Resilience that is more than ever a critical aspect of our activities. Those 7 blocks needs to answer the 3 horizontal dimensions, okay? Need to give answer to how, in this case, techniques and technological solutions can contribute to the green and digital transition, and how can contribute to the resilience, okay, of our economy. And that is organized through a matrix, meaning that every one of the columns and every one of the horizontal dimensions create a matrix of different questions, okay? And I want to share with you, I need to be clear, this is from the draft. The blueprint is still on negotiation, but it was presented during the EU Industry Days. For you, I don't know if I told you, but I am co-curator in the Task Force 2, that is the task force that is creating the blueprint. This is from the draft, last draft, okay, but still not official, okay? But I wanted to share with you the main questions related to the building block 4, and we could highlight how the advanced technologies can contribute on answering those questions, okay? So as you can see, the first question is, what are the research and innovation, including technology and prototyping, unmet needs in realizing the twin transition? And every question is followed in this model with a suggestion to provide, a request, sorry, this is not a suggestion. This must be complemented, this must be filled by the different transition pathways. So it's a request to provide actions to meet, in this case, the identified needs. So for every one of the transition pathways, for example, on health or on construction, or in this case, energy intensive industries, one of the transition pathways that is now in definition process. The responsible and us as the industries working on it should think about how to answer this question, okay? What are the unmet needs on research and innovation? What actions can meet those needs? There are questions about the barriers, and actions to overcome them. Barriers for the technology transfer, but also to the widespread adoption of new green and digital technologies. There are questions on business models, very important. What techniques or change to business model could accelerate the twin transition of the ecosystem? And how can we identify and promote such techniques, okay? And about resilience, we are asking about what events could put at risk the development of or adoption of technology, okay? And now we have clear examples with this happening at this moment, okay? And can we identify actions that can prepare the ecosystem or improve their adaptability for such disruptions? And I can tell you that here, clusters is a key is a key answer, okay? For many of those questions in the detailed test, clusters are mentioned, okay? But here in the action to be better prepared for those risks, cluster are key, I would say, okay? Question 9, what events could put at risk the development of or adoption of technology, and how can we be better prepared for those events, okay? And there is a last question on value chains, okay? What are more vulnerable to major disruptions, and could we identify those that are critical, okay? And if so, could we suggest actions to alleviate critical vulnerabilities? This is how we are working on the blueprint for the transition pathways, and I invite you to think on how your organization, your cluster, your entities, your companies can contribute on answering those questions. That is really, really important, and it's a challenge for all of us to think together, to co-create, in this case, those transition pathways, making us stronger and better ready for the situations that we are facing today, or even worse, we could need to face in the future challenges. There is a survey that the European Cluster Collaboration Platform has launched just this morning. If you are subscribed to the ECCP, you should have the invitation in the inbox of your email. There is a survey on understanding what kind of disruptions in supply chains we are suffering at this moment, or we could suffer soon. So this is also an invitation to you to participate on that survey, to answer the survey, to provide us your feedback, even to spread the survey between your networks, between your contacts. This is critical. We know that we are suffering problems, but we lack the details on those problems. And with more information, we can for sure be better prepared. So this is, again, a call for actions to you. You have 3 up to now in my speech, okay? The first one is an invitation to act together on supporting Ukraine. Second one is think about you can contribute to the designing of the best possible transition pathways. And the third one is please engage with us on mapping the situation, the industrial situation in Europe in terms of disruptions in supply chains. So thank you very much. And here I am for your question, if there is time for it. I'm not sure if there is time on the.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Novogorero. Thank you very much for your presentation and these valuable insights. I also wish to thank you for taking part in dealing with this humanitarian and economic crisis that is recently developing on the EU borders. Thank you very much. I wish you enjoy the rest of the program and have a pleasant rest of the day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we continue with our program. What will follow is our second panel discussion, this time about the importance of digital innovation hubs, their state of art and perspective when it comes to digitalization of Central European SMEs. I kindly invite representatives of our partner organizations to take the stage. Ms. Francesca Pozzar from Friuli Innovazione, who is also the moderator of the panel, Mr. Paolo Dondo from MESAP Innovation Cluster, Mr. Heiko Bartschat from Cluster Mechatronics and Automation within the Bayer Innovative, and Ms. Sophie Wiesinger from the University of Applied Sciences, Upper Austria. Please take your seats, and you can start with the panel discussion.
So, good morning also from our side, and thanks for your attention. This is the second panel, and it's my pleasure to moderate it with these colleagues from three partners in the Boost4BSO's project. So, in the first panel, we heard how it was the direct relationship between business support organizations and companies in the framework of our project experience. So we tested our methodology, our tools, and we tried to see if it worked in enhancing companies' capability to transform their processes and their business models. Now in this panel, we will look up and discuss about the role that digital innovation hubs have in enabling digitalization in general as a pattern in small and medium companies. In a systemic perspective, within regional innovation ecosystems, DIHs represent formal networks of digitalization enablers that are supposed to back companies' efforts in transforming their processes to be more effective and efficient, and in the end, all in all, be more competitive. But how digital innovation hubs look like and how they act can greatly differ from region to region and from country to country. So I would like to start this panel discussion with a consideration about in these three areas that my colleagues here represent that are all part of the Central Europe eligible area. These kind of organizations that are now in the point of transforming themselves into something different, because we will talk in a while also about their transformation into European digital innovation hubs, but how they look like now. And I would like to start to ask this to Paolo from MESAP. He is from Piemonte, but in Italy, digital innovation hubs, so also from Friuli Venezia Giulia side, looks like the same. They are ruled in a national perspective. So Paolo, please tell us how it works in Italy.
Thanks, Francesca, for your question. In Piedmont, we belong to the Piedmont region in the northwest of Italy. We have a regional innovation cluster set up in 2009. So let's say that business support organizations were existing since that period, and the Digital Innovation Hub were set in 2017. The ecosystem, so we are working with them, with new colleagues of Digital Innovation Hub. Let's say that they are focused on the digital readiness assessment for different kind of enterprises. Most of them are small or medium enterprises. So it's like setting up a testing lab where you get there and you give the blood or the fluids that should be analyzed, and they give you, let's say, a photograph of your performance, also compared to best performer in your sector. So you have, let's say, it's like having the number of cells or whatever compared to the, let's say, the average or the best performance. So they give you a good shape. So you are in good shape. You should eat less meat and more fish or whatever. So you need, could be on the product development process to introduce some digital tools, or on manufacturing, or in digital marketing and supply chain. So they give you the full photograph. This is an ecosystem, so you have different providers, you have clusters that are more devoted to, let's say, innovative activities, innovation. You have the universities and the research and the technology organization, in which you can have providers for technology, for patents, for innovation on product and manufacturing. So we have, let's say, a wide spectrum of solution providers. Also the education, the training bodies are important. And all these, let's say, composite puzzle has been set up and transformed in a project on the current European Digital Innovation Hub call. So we were part of this ecosystem, and together we are running, together with the Digital Innovation Hub, with the Competence Center, with the universities, with the training providers, in a project for this kind of regional body.
Thank you. So let's see what's the difference, if any, in Upper Austria, and then I'll come to Bavaria.
Thank you, Francesca. Yeah, I'm Sophie Wiesinger. I'm working at the University of Applied Sciences in Upper Austria, and as it already says, applied sciences, we are strongly connected to the industry, and thus we also have a little bit of an insight in what's happening concerning the digital innovation hubs, because we try to mix into that and get involved in it. We are lucky in Upper Austria. There are several digital innovation hubs by now focusing on different topics, but not only focusing on different technologies like robotics or artificial intelligence, but I'm very happy also that one of these hubs is focusing on how actually the work life changes via digitalization. So the transformation of people in the digital world is a topic. And what I see as a very strong impact of these digital innovation hubs is that it's very easy, that they are very easily accessible, or they are supposed to be easily accessible by especially SMEs. And all of them are containing so-called experimentation labs where new technologies, new tools can be tried out. And this is core, I would say. This providing a protected atmosphere where things can be tried, where new technologies can be tried, this is the main contribution. And I don't have to say this, things are changing these days in Europe. People have not been very daring, I would say, especially not when it comes to new technologies, and the changes right now, speaking of the pandemic or the political situation, are contributing to making the world and people more uncertainty avoiders. Yeah? So I would say that the importance of DHIs is higher than ever. And I really hope that our region will seize the opportunities that the DHIs offer. And I constantly hope that the cooperation of universities and institutional partners leads to a situation where we are truly networking. I dare to say that, and that's the same everywhere in Europe, we are trying to teach ourselves how to network the best. We are trying to connect ourselves, but in small projects we sometimes realize that SMEs who are working next to each other have never talked to each other before. So this is a second contribution I would see for the DIHs in Upper Austria.
Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, it's true. When you work in a business support organization, one of the experiences that are common to everyone, I think, is that going to the companies of your local field, you realize that many times they do not know each other. They did not have the chance to meet, or they did not exploit the opportunities that you try to offer to companies as much as you would like to. I don't know if it's also your experience, Heiko, in Bavaria.
Yes, indeed. That's also my experience. In Bavaria, we have 3 of these national digital innovation hubs. There is one in the field of mobility. The other both are in the field of digital health and in the field of insurance tech. But to be honest, we from the cluster and from the SME-orientated measurements, let me say, are not really in contact with this digital innovation hubs in Bavaria. The partners listed there are the global players in the specific sector. For example, in the mobility sector, that are the companies BMW and MAN and also Allianz, because Allianz is insurance and in the mobility sector. So in daily work, we don't have really contact to these national digital innovation hubs. Despite the mobility hub where Bayern Innovativ is also engaged in since 1995, and where our department Zentrum Digitalisierung Bayern is also engaged in this hub and in this structure of this digital innovation hub. For we are looking at the SMEs, I want to mention other support measures of the federal ministry. For example, it was Mittelstand Digital and the digital competence centers 4.0 started 6 years ago, I think, or 7 years ago. And there also we are engaged in, and they want to build up awareness for the possibilities and the potential of digitalization, and want to animate SMEs to do their first steps. And I think that is a really successful way to do so. It's a little bit difficult in the field of state aid, but they managed it, I think, very well. And so we have very good best practices from several SMEs that can animate others to go the same way.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. As you have heard, there are many ways to act under the Digital Innovation Hub umbrella, and in a while we will discuss how it will be very soon, because starting from September this year, the first European Digital Innovation Hubs should start their action. And so, at least in the intention of the European Commission, these will be big players in the innovation ecosystems that are also repository of quality, in the sense that they have been trusted by the EU Commission and they got this label. And this comes back to the discussion made by Boris during the first panel, and I think it was Silesian Automotive Cluster mentioning the fact that BSOs, and BSOs being part of the innovation ecosystems, need to be trustworthy and transparent. And European Digital Innovation Hubs policy, I think, has behind it also this kind of intention. But also we live in an uncertain times, and this transformation of innovation policies had to be speeded up by the circumstances, because we've seen first pandemic, and now we have even to cope with a situation that was completely unexpected. So we're in at the doors of the European Union, and I think that this will be kind of threshold for us, also in the innovation ecosystems. But coming back to the discussion and trying to be a little bit more down to earth, I would like to ask to Sophie, that represented in Boost4BSO the academia perspective, because even though you are a technical university, still you are from the academy side and not to the BSO's component of the partnership. Which was, from your point of view, in the project and also in general, the role of technical universities in your case, which is an experience that, for instance, in Italy does not exist, but also what are, in general, for academia and research institutions, the needs to fine-tune their offer to the new world?
Thank you, Francesca. I have to say that our school has got 4 faculties, and all the 4 faculties or schools are trying to make their point in the topic of innovation and digitalization. The forerunner is our School of Informatics, Communication and Media, but also at our School of Business and Management, especially in my field, in the field of sales and marketing, we try to focus on industry and on digitalization needs in the sense of digitalization tools, AI tools, whatever is needed for industry to adapt their offers and their services, which is a big topic that we are trying to cover, the topic of servitization. When you ask me, Francesca, actually, what is a contribution or role of universities in the field of innovation support or digitalization support, I have to say that a lot is asked from us from the academic side. We need to provide the knowledge, which is kind of old-fashioned because everybody can read whatever is needed to be known. So we need to to redefine ourselves a little bit. We are these days kind of networkers, so we see ourselves as providing a strong network of research to enable our company partners to be one step ahead, because we have the latest knowledge in research in the respective fields, yeah. And we also feel responsible, and from my personal point of view, this is key. We feel responsible for creating a mindset among our students which is ready for innovation. I cannot repeat that often enough because I really feel that is needed. We need a change of culture, a change of climate. Yeah? And this also needs a change of methods. I cannot conservatively teach my students and expect them to go out and make a startup and be very innovative in the respective companies. Yeah? I need to teach them in a way that I already use a design thinking process in my teaching. Yeah? I need to teach them or let them experience how it is to be innovative. Yeah? This is something, it's as with bringing up children. You cannot be very conservative and then expect them to be great artists. Yeah? You have to enable them, empower them. And this is where I see a strong role of universities. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, of course, you have to change within all the system, and it's kind of demanding. Of course, you mentioned design thinking. I think that one of the keywords of today is co-creation also in the innovation ecosystems. We need to act together, but to co-create together the new strategies to be effective on the ground, on the economies. So coming back to what's next, European Digital Innovation Hubs. From Bavarian perspective, Bayern Innovative is kind of very close to SMEs in a very competitive industry, as we have already mentioned this morning. What do you expect from the new paradigm of European Digital Innovation Hub, if any?
Yeah, I think a good idea of this European Digital Innovation Hubs is this network working together. Like we did in Boost4BSO, for example, or in other Interreg projects in this field of innovation, to speed up and to find the best ideas to speed up innovation in Europe, and to network at least the SMEs, or at last the SMEs, but first to network the BSOs or the EDIs. That is, I think, one good idea. As a cluster organization, I have to manage the financing of 50% for the last 20 years. On the one day, it's really difficult and hard to do so. On the other side, it's a kind of success criterion. But because when you are set up to convince companies to bring the finance, the second part of your financing, you have to be close with their needs and their pain points, and you have to organize that the cooperation between them will flow. I think it's not so necessary to have own expertise in the hub, because it's a hub, it's a kind of node where competences come together. And so business support in this hub is not to transfer from my organization to the SMEs, but to connect competences. And this again is a good idea with this EDI network, I think, and we have to animate our SMEs to work together, also regionally, as you said, neighbors don't know what they are doing or don't know each other. And in Europe, we are neighbors, and in the background of resilience, we should learn to cooperate in Europe much stronger, as we looked in the last 20 years or 30 years to suppliers in other far east regions. So maybe that's a good opportunity to speed up European networks, innovation networks, not only between BSOs, but between the SMEs.
Thank you, thanks a lot. And partly your answer is connected with what was mentioned by Luke beforehand in the previous panel. So convincing companies in putting their own money is one of the pain points, or bringing these services on commercial level and looking if it's really convincing them.
Yeah, a good testimonial is a good end of a project between a BSO and a company, but financial contribution to survive, to the life of the BSO is, I think, the really harder one and the better one.
Market proof. So Paolo, you're also representing a cluster in an Italian region that is famous for its automotive industry too, so you can compare your situation with Bavaria and Silesia as well, from the perspective of the type of companies you're serving. Not all of them, but many of them. So my question to you is, just to close up, coming back to the initial point, digitalization does really represent an opportunity also for tier 2 and tier 3 companies, because they are the majority in the supply chain, in Italy at least, but I guess also in other Central European regions.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, but also a big problem. Because we are talking about tier 2 and tier 3. The dimension of tier 3 especially are small enterprises, family owned. Most of them has more than 50 years of life. So they have a strong tradition, a strong mechanical tradition. But today the need is to put more software, more electronics on it. We are a mechatronics cluster, so we are very well trained about this topic, but for them it's really a problem, because they were used to receive drawings from the customer and just produce the drawing. It was very simple for their position. They have very good CNC machines. They are perfect mechanical technicians. They know how to manufacture that part, but the contents are increasing. They have to add some strange things like PCBs, like putting the software in there, testing the components. So it's really a big challenge. And so they need to solve this problem. They need to insert a technical office with some, not engineers, but some technicians that know how to design the product and test it. So from the digital side, you know, it's very easy. It's not easy, but you know how to do it. So you have to insert 3D CAD models. You have to have to develop some digital twins, let's say CAE, computer-aided engineering tools, simulation, like that. So it's really a complete change of mind. And they are trying to say, okay, from tomorrow I have to start to design my own product, not the product that is coming from my customer. He says, okay, this is the product, produce it in the most affordable way. So it's really a change of mind, and we are supporting this kind of transformation. Not easy. How do we do it? Through examples. We have some, let's say, technical advice. We call it the innovation takeaway. We had one on EMC simulation done on computer with computer-aided engineering tools. That is avoiding going to the lab and okay, I have a problem. You have to go back, produce a prototype, redesign the product, and test it. But you need the competencies, you need the technicians, you need the engineers coming from the academia. So it's really a big change of mind for them. And this 60 years old small enterprise is not used to change. So it's not about technology, it's understanding how the business is going, and they need to transform themselves. You cannot push them to do it. You just have to tell them the world is going there. This is the transformation. These are the dead ones. These are the leading ones. Do you want to be the leading one, or do you want to be the dead one? They have to understand and think. That's
Sorry for interrupting, but I have kind of mandate to stop you because we are running over time. And thank you to you all for this fruitful discussion. I think the takeover from this panel is that we need, of course, to speed up our mindset change and to offer support for companies' mindset change as well. And we will have to do it in a co-creative way. So thank you for this fruitful discussion, and we'll leave the floor to Mario again.
Excellent conversation. I wish to thank our panelists. Now we are going to have another short break during which you will be able to see partners and regions participating in this project. So thank you for your attention so far, and see you in 10 minutes. No, perfect. Perfect, perfect.
I've seen you grow and stride across the centuries, but never have I seen you as I see you now. You've realized that the magic of life lies in diversity, in community, and togetherness. You have begun to see yourselves the way you really are. You've learnt to listen to each other, sharing inspiration. To nurture every individual's potential, you have created places where there is room for education, space for curiosity. Places where your actions serve a world worth living in. A world where give and take is neatly balanced. Where you value nature and everything around you. Where you enjoy the fullness of life. Where you are rich without depriving others. Before, you used to strive for goals without enjoying the journey. But now, you know that everything takes time. Each idea, each thought, each human being. Time to grow and reflect. Time for success and fun. Your thirst for knowledge and your spirit of discovery have moved you forward. Today, you blend your change with foresight. You have begun to shape the technological and digital revolution in your own sense. With empathy for others and the collective good. With respect for nature. And today, Today, you have created something truly special. A world of diversity, a world of freedom. How do I know? I simply know because I am your future.
Welcome to a land of beauty and science, shaped by different ideas and cultures. Our curiosity is boundless, and from DNA to the infinitely small, we aim to discover all the secrets of the universe. We spread mobility of knowledge, promoting international cooperation through a network of scientific excellence. With applied research, we attract new investments, and we team up with business leaders and the public to tackle the challenges of our future. We act for a bigger purpose. We value sustainability because we are strong innovators. And we care about the coming generations and the future of our planet. Welcome to our land. Welcome to Friuli Venezia Giulia.
Our country is a country of emotions, of innovations, of culture, of economy, of nature. And, above all, a country of its people. Upper Austria, our country, our people, our economy.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the final conference of the Boost4BSO project. We are entering the final hour of the conference. What comes next is an example of a digitalization initiative in maritime sector. I kindly invite Mr. Sergei Pintar from the Maritime Center of Excellence to take the stage.
Hello, welcome to Opatija. My name is Sergei. I'm working for Maritime Center of Excellence as project manager. We are a company that is new formed in Rijeka. We are part of German shipbuilding group Lursen, who is now investing in Croatia. Currently, we have two companies. One company is doing the ship design, and we are in charge of developing new technologies, which should be part of green and digital effort for maritime sector. So currently, we are dealing with alternative ship propulsions, with digital solutions for the ports, and environmental solutions like, for example, waste to energy. Also, in parallel, we are dealing with autonomous shipping, which is one of the projects that we are currently doing. In Rijeka, there is now a new project, which is Marina. Marina is the new waterfront of the city, which will be used to demonstrate all the new technologies that we are developing for the smart ports. So we will start with the movie that we prepared, which is showing the technologies which will be implemented in this project. Thank you.
Lursen Design Center Kvarner. Maritime Center of Excellence. ACI i Gitone s ponosom predstavljaju viziju pametne, samoodržive i zelene marine temeljene na upotrebi naprednih tehnologija. Marine, dobrodošli natrag u ACI Gitone Marinu Rijeka. Veselimo se što ste prepoznali našu marinu kao atraktivnu destinaciju i što ste nam se odlučili vratiti u potrazi za novim sadržajima. Temeljem detekcije i glavnih izmjera broda, dodijeljeno vam je optimalno mjesto u marini. Molimo vas da pratite označenu rutu do veza 42. Željela bih iskoristiti vrijeme koje imamo na raspolaganju prilikom vezivanja broda da vam preporučim aktivnosti u Rijeci odabrane slijedom vaših preferenci tijekom zadnjeg posjeta Rijeci. Što kažete na palaču šećerane, koja je 1970. postala zaštićeno kulturno dobro? U blizini je i dječja kuća, jedinstvena u Hrvatskoj. Želite li je posjetiti dan nakon šećerane? Zeleno autonomno vozilo je pristiglo i čeka na pristaništu. Otvoren je novi sushi restoran na uglu s odličnim recenzijama. Želite li da vam rezerviram stol za dvoje za večeru? Informacija posadi broda da su naručene zalihe u dolasku i bit će spremne za ukrcaj nakon što vlasnici napuste jahtu i krenu u obilazak. Marine, sve je spremno. Prije nego krenete u avanturu, predlažemo jedinstveni doživljaj uživanja u kavi na dizalici. Gitone Marina Rijeka je prva zelena i digitalna marina na Jadranu, u kojoj su inovativne tehnologije rješenje svih postojećih i potencijalnih izazova. Zahvaljujući naprednoj digitalnoj platformi za nadzor i upravljanje, 5G umreženosti i obnovljivim izvorima energije, ACI Gitone Marina Rijeka ne nudi samo vrhunsku uslugu, već to čini na ekološki napredan način. Autonomna vozila, senzori, kamere, plovila i korisnici su povezani putem 5G mreže u jedinstveni sustav koji omogućuje napredna digitalna platforma Marine. Osnovu sustava upravljanja i nadzora čini model digitalnog blizanca koji temeljem prikupljenih podataka čini integralni model Marine i svih događaja u realnom vremenu. Prilikom uplovljavanja Trenutno se prepoznaju plovila i njihovi korisnici kako bi im se osigurao personalizirani doživljaj marine i dodijelilo optimalno pristupno mjesto. Sustav također vodi računa o morskom prometu unutar marine kako bi se ostvarila vrhunska razina sigurnosti. Putem mobilne aplikacije korisnici mogu dati zahtjev za inspekciju oplate koja se vrši autonomnim podvodnim dronom. Miran san korisnika osigurava leteći autonomni dron koji vrši nadzor nad marinom, kao i mogućnost provjere trenutnog stanja plovila u svakom trenutku. Sustav preventivnog održavanja kao ekstenzija digitalnog blizanca marine u sprezi sa proširenom stvarnošću omogućuje pravovremeno i efikasno obavljanje održavanja plovila. Uz morski promet, sustav nadzire i kopneni. Nadzor i upravljanje parkirnim mjestima omogućuje učinkovito i jednostavno parkiranje, navodeći korisnika na dostupno mjesto. Električno autonomno vozilo čeka na punionici i spremno je za pokret u svako doba, sukladno preferiranoj dinamici korisnika. Putem pametne aplikacije, korisnici marine pozivaju autonomno vozilo. Inteligentni sustav upravljanja marine optimizira putanju vozila, čime se povećava razina usluge i smanjuje utrošak energije. Sigurnost je uvijek na prvom mjestu. Sustav prepoznavanja prepreka pouzdano radi u svim vremenskim uvjetima te osigurava putnike i pješake. Acigitone Marina Rijeka je spremna za zelenu tranziciju prema pogonima budućnosti, zahvaljujući stanicama za punjenje električnih plovila i plovila na vodik. Cilj je korisnicima zelenih pogona osigurati kompletnu infrastrukturu potrebnu za uredno odvijanje sigurnog prometa. Uz proizvodnju zelene energije iz obnovljivih izvora energije, poput solarnih panela, cilj zelene marine je imati nultu stopu proizvodnje otpada, što se ostvaruje visokotehnološkim rješenjima za konverziju otpada u energiju. Nereciklabilni komunalni otpad, kao i otpadna ulja i kaljuža, koji se s područja marine prikupe autonomnim logističkim vozilima, dopremaju se u pogon za sakupljanje i obradu otpada. Kruti, nereciklabilni otpad kojeg pretežito čine ostaci hrane, tekstil, biomasa, zaostala plastika i papir, ali i opasne tvari poput infektivnog otpada i ostataka boje, se usitnjava i suši kako bi se smanjio udio vlage. Usitnjeni otpad se prenosi prema reaktoru. Visokotehnološki sustav za uplinjavanje koristi plazma baklje koje, zahvaljujući temperaturama iznad 8000 stupnjeva Celzijevih, direktno uplinjuju usitnjeni otpad i pretvaraju ga u vrijedan sintetski plin i minimalnu količinu vitrificiranog inertnog taloga. Sintetski plin se potom hladi i pročišćava prije nego dospije u generator električne energije. Goriva čelija s visokim stupnjem učinka stvara električnu i toplinsku energiju direktno iz pročišćenog sintetskog plina, a rezultat konverzije su čisti ispušni plinovi. Samoodržive, digitalne marine u kojoj ste vi, vaša sigurnost i doživljaj na prvome mjestu. Marine, vidimo se i dogodine.
I wish to thank Mr. Pintar for presenting this interesting project of a smart and digital port in Rijeka. Now I want to invite Mr. Boris Golob from Stepri Science and Technology Park of the University of Rijeka to present some key outputs of the Boost4BSO project that are supporting digital transformation.
Hello again. This won't be a traditional presentation of the formal outputs or things that we did in let's say, as it should be done from the formal perspective of every EU project. This is something that we wanted to exchange interest things or things that happened even then they were not envisioned originally from the project perspective. So just giving you a context, so Boost4BSO is a project created based on, as it was previously said, 2 Interreg projects and 1 Horizon project. But also a few other projects actually gave to us some deliverables, some tools, or some knowledge that we thought that it might be used to put it into a context of supporting digitalization of the SMEs or in improving our competences as a business support organizations to be able to support. So we had a lot of interesting stuff, interesting knowledge, really practical stuff from the best or among the best projects in their categories. We had cherry-picked partners in consortium from those best projects, so that was also a great starting point. And then we were kind of challenged to put that into use. And that is the context of the Boost4BSO project. As a capitalization project, it's also limited to 24 months. So we were not just supposed to not create anything, but to use previous stuff and to use it in a meaningful way within the shorter period, of course, combined with COVID. So it was maybe a recipe for a trouble, but also I think we created something that actually delivered result. One of the results is that we worked with 30 SMEs and creating a pilot support in their, let's say, initial steps or follow-up steps or upgrade steps of their digitalization of their business in general or some of the processes or some of their activities. One of the, Boost4BSO methodology, which is maybe a topic of this short speech, is something that we didn't see happening at the beginning because we were not allowed actually to develop anything. So that was not envisioned to be a deliverable, but we needed something as some kind of umbrella or roof so that we put all of our really valuable deliverables in some kind of structure. So this is a structure that we invented along the way in order to better use stuff that we came and created the Boost4BSO project. So our methodology was how we are going to use our stuff in order to support digitalization of the SMEs. So we say, okay, let's make it in a kind of 4 steps. So that methodology is we followed, and what is really interesting, this was really useful stuff for the DIH proposal, because at the end of the day, few months or a year later, EU Commission, when they published the DIH call, they suggested some kind of similar approach. So they said, okay, you are supposed to do digital maturity assessment, which is pretty much our first step. We said, okay, we need to put the SME in front of us or in front of them and to see, okay, there is a lot of wishful thinking, there are a lot of shiny stuff within technology, but what would you really want to do? What is your current stage? And okay, if you are completely analog, then it's really impossible that you are going to be completely digital. So the initial stage or in the first step was to see what's possible from the company's perspective, from their capabilities, not from their wishes. The next step was to see, okay, you saw those shiny things, so what those shiny things, those technologies means for you? Are there any blind spots? Do you understand what implies for you to use those technologies? Which are the suppliers in vicinity? Or is it something possible for some of our partners, but not from Rijeka's perspective, because the nearest supplier is in Munich, which is not always really practical. If you are investing a lot of money, yes, but if you are not, so which are the implications that technology brings into the company, and can companies swallow all those implications? And of course, technology doesn't mean anything if it doesn't supports the basic, 1 + 1 needs to be, so can you use it in your business? Can improve your bottom line in order to increase your competitiveness and increase your, profits or growth, or your approach towards your competitors or towards customers? So which are the business implications of these technologies? Will they improve your business, or will they they will create a nightmare because you are now supposed to do some stuff that no one knows how to use it, so you are just adding to the complexity of something that actually worked for the 60 years. It might not for the next 6 months or 6 years, but it worked for 6 years. So why I'm changing this? So you are trying to, and at the end of the day, we said, okay, as a result in our pilot action is, okay, we try to make a roadmap. So we are not giving we are supporting companies in kind of prioritizing which technologies can be implemented within their context, can we rationalize it, can we see which technology needs which type of investment in the financial senses, or in human resource, or in competences, so that they can rationalize all those shiny things which are offered. And especially when you have a local or national or international funds, a lot of money is supporting digitalization, but you are buying a lot of stuff which sometimes is not even unpacked because no one knows how to plug it in. So this is what we came with the methodology in order to make those good stuff that we create in other projects into use within the context of the Boost4BSO. Giving it from the timeline of, let's say, process perspective, because it doesn't work in this sequence, so it's not a straightforward. So I said, yes, we start with the assessment. Then we said, okay, let's see, and these technology implications and business implications were kind of going back and forth. So someone can say, okay, I can make this technology happen under my roof, but then I don't know how to make more money or be more profitable. Does it make sense from the business perspective? So, or something can be really profitable, but there is no suppliers that can actually help me to install and maintain functionality of specific technologies. So it will work, but not a long run or not from the business perspective. So it goes back and forth. And once they kind of come with some feasible ideas, so then there is this transformation roadmap, which is our result, or which happens in these 30 pilots, or happens as we speak, because I said we had a relatively limited time frame. So within these 24 months and the Corona and everything, we kind of struggled to push. This was our original idea. Maybe it could be improved. So this is pretty much draft. It could be improved. If we had maybe 6 months or more, we would come with the methodology version 2 or something, but this worked in a decent way, at least from our perspective, and how we work with some of the SMEs and try to come with something meaningful. And the time frame was, okay, initial was just let's establish a dialogue and to see what is their perspective. Pretty much the same as European Commission expects from DIHs with this digital maturity assessment. So that was really good call from our perspective. And the rest could last from 1 month sometimes, so really less, or a longer perspective. And that was kind of time frame for the we tried to make something really flexible, because this was kind of side thing, but from my perspective, this think was really good point from the Boost4BSO project as a result. And as I said, this was applied in 30 SMEs in 6 countries. We are 8 partners, but 6 countries, and each partner was in charge of doing it, or try to test it with other BSOs, hopefully, and especially with the SMEs that they did. The other interesting result of this is, like it was said few times today, you need to be in contact with suppliers. You are supposed to create the ecosystem in a way so that you are aware of what is possible in your region. So we try to create a website, or let's say place where there will be some kind of connections between experts, suppliers, so business support organizations, as we are, in order to exchange best practices or knowledge that was already there. Suppliers, because we need to know who is capable to deliver a specific technology in our neighborhood. And experts, so we need to know who is capable to create technological solution for a specific company, so that they can support them while picking the suppliers and implementing the suppliers, because everyone is trying to sell his own stuff. So I wouldn't trust a supplier to be maybe the ideal. So some independent experts can also help. So it kind of create a lot of traction, much bigger traction than we expected. Personally, I'm really skeptical about the websites created within the projects and these platforms and stuff. They usually do not create value. This can be really improved. This is also a pilot, and this was something that we also learned what will work, what won't work. But at the end of the day, within the 18 months, it creates some kind of traction. Obviously, the knowledge base, because there are also links to some courses and stuff, makes sense, and it was kind of shared and used. So it has profiles from the people who bring or some knowledge or some kind of resources, experts and suppliers, and we wanted to kind of make a combination and just to test it, will it work, and how we can use this type of stuff to create our own digital environments or ecosystems which will be used to support our companies within our, let's say, local ecosystem, because at the end of the day, it has to be a locally accessible, maybe not local, but locally accessible supplier and the expert. And that's pretty much it. To skip all deliverables, you just go to the Boost4BSO website, and there is a lot of really, some even really smart and useful deliverable, but I won't bother you with the formal ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Golob, for this interesting presentation. What comes next is the ceremony of awarding the business support organization that was most effective in the take-up of our project's results. I kindly invite Mr. Heiko Bartschat from the Cluster Mechatronics and Automation within Bayern Innovative to take over. Mr. Bartschat, the stage is yours.
So, now we come to the highlight of the day, at least for one person. Yes, but first I have to, a little bit, I think, to explain the idea and to thank some colleagues for their work. This award is for a BSO, which took this methodology to do and to work with their companies, with their SMEs, and bring them to these ideas Boris explained. And we had some applications, and we had a jury of the project partners, and I have to thank all of you who worked with these applications and decided, I think, in a very smooth and a very sincere way for one of the applications. And now I proudly present the award, and the winner of the award, it's, I hope I'm right, Technology and Innovation Center Medi Murie and Mr. Ivan Platsko. So, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And give it a good place in your institution to show your SMEs and your customers your capabilities and your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Henko. I'm really honored to receive this award. It's not just a formal proof of activities, but it's also proof about participating in the project that is really about what we are doing. So we are a business support institution, and we saw this project as a really valuable resource for our work and for our target group for SMEs. So I'm really glad that Boris, with whom we cooperated and with his team, invited us to participate in this project. And since the beginning, I saw the real potential, and we were really motivated to use all the tools that were developed in scope of the program. So I will just briefly present what we did in scope of the project and why we got this award. So, as was already mentioned, there were a few steps in implementing this project. First one was focused more on the BSOs, and the second one was more on providing support to the target group, so to the SMEs. We applied to participate in this project in the beginning. So we had a few online and offline workshops where we got the introduction to the methodology and all the tools that were later used in providing support to SMEs. So we had one workshop online, and we had with all of us together, so with the whole project team, and the second one was here in Step 3 premises in Rijeka, where we discussed the details about the providing support to the SMEs. Then there was a call for SMEs to apply. I didn't mention, but we are located in the most northern part of Croatia, which is traditionally industrial part, so and entrepreneurial part. We have a lot of SMEs. It's Međimurje County in the border with Slovenia and Hungary. Austria is just 50 kilometers. So we had quite a lot of SMEs that would be great for participating in this project. So there was a call, and few SMEs responded, but we decided to work with Senko, which is a producer of cookers, stoves, and fireplaces. It's a family-owned company operating more than 30 years. It's the second generation is currently running the company, and they produce really high-quality products which are exported mostly to the Western European market. And we also did some projects with them, connecting with them with business, with academia, so they developed the projects together, and we saw that they have a really right mindset to be a participant in this project. We heard in the panels before that the mindset is really crucial thing and the most important thing in starting in this path to digital transformation and implementing elements of Industry 4.0. So that's why we together with STEP decided that this would be the great company to work with and in this pilot project. So you saw Boris presented the methodology earlier. We went to all the steps, did few meetings. The people from the company were really engaged, willing to participate, to discuss all the possible options, and using this methodology was really a good roadmap to go through all this process. So we can discuss certain things in an open manner, but when it's structured like this, it's really much more efficient to get the results. This is one of the meetings. We discussed a lot of things, like introducing Internet of Things, cloud computing, automatization, and the main areas which were then further elaborated were automatization of the shop floor segment. That was really the bottleneck. So you analyze the whole company, and then you decide on the priorities and suggest which would be the best way to take for the first investments. So that's it in brief. It was, for us, it was really a good experience. We have been operating for more than 12 years now, working with SMEs, and these tools will be used, I'm sure, on a daily basis in enhancing our services. So this is our business incubator. We have 50 companies currently incubated, but services to the SMEs which are not incubated are also really important part of our activities. So thank you once again for this award. It will have the most important place in our office. And I congratulate you on implementing this really valuable and successful project. Thank you.
I wish to thank Mr. Barčat for delivering the award on behalf of the Boost4BSO Project Consortium. I wish to thank Mr. Plačko for his presentation, and I want to congratulate Technology Innovation Center Međimurje for this award and the great work behind it. We are almost done with the conference. I wish to thank everybody present here for their attendance. I wish to thank everybody online. I wish to thank our speakers and panelists today, and I believe that everyone found something interesting and inspirational in our program today. For the final words and closing of the conference, I kindly invite Ms. Eva Breuer from our lead partner organization, Business Upper Austria.
Thank you, Mario. Thanks again for your perfect organization together with all your team here. It was a really great conference, perfectly organized, and with a lot of interesting talks. I hope that really everybody's got some really good insights to the project as well as to the really valuable results. As we've heard, there have been 30 SMEs involved and consulted, and we have heard one best practice where one of our associated and external BSOs has transferred the developed methodology to a local SME. So once again, thanks to all of us who are here in the room and listening, and also thanks to all the speakers, and thanks to all the audience that was listening online. And, well, unfortunately, that's the last point, and we have to close this very interesting event now. Thank you.